Hi everyone, thanks for joining us and welcome to Screaming on the Inside, a UKAT podcast. I'm Lucia, your host for today and a member of the alumni team here at UKAT. Our guest today is Liberty House Clinic Alumna Kimberley. Kimberley spent 24 days in treatment and is coming up to 1 year of sobriety. She bravely speaks with us about being young and vulnerable to becoming a mother struggling with her sobriety. We discuss domestic violence, abuse, sexual assault and suicide prevention, amongst other topics. She shares with us her incredible journey of loneliness, social pressures and disconnect to finding the inner strength and determination to conquer her demons. Thanks for joining us. Hiya guys, thanks for joining us today. We're joined here today with Kimberley, who's an alumna from Liberty House Centre in Luton. Hi Kimberley.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you getting on?
Yeah, very, very good, thank you. Very well indeed.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us today, Kimberley. So, guys, we're just going to let Kimberley introduce herself a little bit to us. And, we'll just have a little chat and go from there, really.
Perfect.
Hiya, Kimberley. So, do you want to tell the guys a little bit about yourself and what you into treatment with us at Liberty House?
Sure. So my name is Kimberley. I am 41 years old. I'm a mother to twins, 9-year-old twins, a little boy and a little girl. And what brought me to Liberty House was I was basically on my knees at rock bottom. I'd definitely hit rock bottom with my drinking. It was out of control. It was 24/7. Yeah, it was not a very good place to be. And I knew that things needed to change in order for me to keep having access to my children, in order to live, really. I was definitely at the point where I was ready to take my own life. I did try before I went into Liberty House. So I knew that something had to give, and that was me getting the help that I probably needed many, many years ago, but was in so much denial about my drinking and where it had gone. So it definitely was my rock bottom that took me to Liberty House.
Oh, bless you. Thanks for sharing that, Kimberley. It's really brave of you to share that with us. How long have you had any issues surrounding alcohol? Is that something new, or have you struggled on and off, or?
No, so I would say that my alcohol journey, I had my first drink when I was 13. And I think a lot of people will relate to this, especially my age. You know, being young and drinking in the park with your friends was the thing to do. Using your pocket money to give over to a stranger to get you alcohol outside a shop. That was teenage culture, back in the day when I was growing up, and it was the norm. So I had my first drink when I was 13, and I'll be honest, I can't really remember what I thought of it, but I obviously thought something to go back. And I would say over a couple of years, 13 to 15, I would have a couple of drinks out like that, like nothing major. Again, it was a normal thing to do that. But I got into a relationship with an older guy when I was 15. I was nearly 16, but I was still 15. And with that, my drinking excelled. An older guy, he had lots of older friends. He was 6-7 years older than me. And it wasn't a very nice relationship. I thought it was love, but you know, I was young and easily swayed.
At that age, don't you?
Definitely. And I ended up moving in with him really quickly. And the drinking was then kind of every weekend. His sisters were, you know, older as well. So it was the thing to do to fit in.
Yeah.
And with the drinking, then came drugs. And then with the drinking and the drugs came physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse from my supposed boyfriend. So it was pretty horrendous. So I would say that I would use the drinking and the drugs to numb out how I was feeling and to numb out my life, really, as to what was actually going on. it was a dark time. I was lying to my parents. When I saw them, I would try to be cover up black eyes, and I was sexually abused by him and his friend. So there was lots of stuff going on behind the scenes that I just used to escape with alcohol and drugs, and that was ecstasy and cocaine. And it got to the point where it was every weekend, and then it started to creep into the week. So it was frequent use.
I bet you must have felt so alone and so scared as well, because you're so young, and for something so traumatic to happen to you at that time, I just bet you didn't know who to turn to, really.
No, there was, obviously, I knew that I couldn't tell my parents because they would want me to finish with him. And as I say, I thought he loved me, but obviously that wasn't love. But I was young and naive and vulnerable, and that played well into his hands. So he was obviously utilising that vulnerability to his advantage. And it was a lonely time. I stayed with him for 6 years, so I eventually got out of that relationship because I couldn't handle anymore when I was 22, and I started living with my sister. But obviously by 22 I'd been in this relationship for 6 years, so I hadn't really experienced going out with friends and having that kind of social side. So at 22, living with my sister, there came more partying. Not so the drugs weren't present when I was living with my sister because my sister didn't agree with it, but it was drinking. And so we were both working 2 or 3 jobs, and one of my jobs was in a pub. So obviously you get bought drinks, and it was easy. It was easy to feed, the alcohol want, need, addiction. Maybe you could call it that at that age. But it was just easy to feed it. And again, to numb everything that had happened previously by my ex-partner.
Did you ever at that time talk to anyone about that, like professionally, or get any kind of support with that? Or was it you just kind of got on with trying to suppress it, get on with your life and try not to think of it? Or
at that time I chose to self-medicate, obviously, with drinking. I wasn't drinking around the clock, and it wasn't every day at that point, but it was a substantial amount given, when I look back now, it was a substantial amount given how old I was, and it was just easily accessible all the time. If people in the pub are going to be buying you drinks, then you're just going to take it, aren't you?
So, it's socially accepted as well, isn't it? It's not like it's just it's easily, especially if you're working in a pub, you get in that environment, don't you? All the regulars, the pub landlord and everything. So you form that relationship in there, I guess.
Definitely.
Were you, when you did drink, Kimberley, would you drink to excess? Was it on and off? How was your drinking at that time?
Again, it's only now that I'm like in recovery that I can see like the patterns. And for years I didn't think that drinking back then I had a problem, but I would always drink to excess. There was, as soon as I had a drink, I would want another one. And it would always lead to 3, 4, 5, 6 drinks. It was never just the one. So now, from what I've learned in recovery, now looking back at that, like, there should have been alarm bells, but obviously there's not going to be, because you don't think that you're ever going to be an alcoholic. And I thought that everybody around me was doing the same thing. So again, I thought it was socially acceptable.
You didn't think you were doing anything out there, or you just think, oh, that's normal, that's what everyone does. How long did you work at the pub for?
It was only a couple of years, but that was probably enough to then take my drinking to another level, and between the age of like 22 and 28 I had another failed relationship, and he didn't drink, so it was probably really noticeable to him that I would like a glass of wine at night, or it was any excuse. Looking back, oh, I've had a shit day, oh, I've had a good day, oh, I'm happy, I'm sad. And in recovery you hear so many people say that, but it was just any excuse to have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And it did escalate. Like, I would probably say around that time I was having 1 or 2 alcohol-free nights a week. Yeah, reflection has been a massive part of this journey, and it's quite scary, really.
It is, especially like with, I don't know, like with alcohol, it's a different thing, isn't it? Because, you know, it is so socially accepted.
Yeah.
And, you know, you do see people, like even now you can walk past the pub and you'll see the same faces every day. So like when you're around that and you're going through things as well, like inside of you don't think that anything's wrong. You kind of think, oh, this is normal, this is what people do, you know, especially at a young age, that you don't have awareness really of what's really going on with me. What is addiction? You know, do we even really understand at that age what it is? Because as far as I know, when I was at school, it was just kind of like, don't do drugs, your drinking can be dangerous, but that was it. It wasn't really going much deeper than that. And I think at the age, like, you know, I was exactly the same, like drinking at the pub, getting my older friends to dress up, you know, looking older, to go and get us a bottle of Glen's vodka from Tesco or whatever it was, you know, whatever you could get your hands on, really. But, you know, at that age, you are vulnerable. So I do think that in secondary school, at a certain point, they need to maybe start discussing things in a bit more detail with people, and not kind of just glaze over it.
I really do agree with that. I think the stereotype of an alcoholic is that person on the bench with a brown paper bag, and it's really sad that now we're so many years down the line that we still have this stereotype of that alcoholic, and that kind of sticks in your head, and you think, well, because I'm not doing that, I'm not an alcoholic, so it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And I think people get really scared as soon as they hear the word addiction and alcoholism, and I think there's a massive grey area around it, and I do think it should be more available for people to learn about and study at school.
Yeah, especially because you get, like, me and my friends would idolize, you know, the club 18 to 30s. And
Yeah.
Like, when we get 18, we're going to go and do that. You know, it's all about going away and just drinking yourself like crazy. But, you know, not everyone is able to have a healthy relationship around that. There's a lot of people that, like you say, you know, they're just everyday people that you wouldn't even think, you know, they've got jobs, they're holding down jobs, you know, you might not necessarily lose a job. My ex, he was he'd work really hard and he never lost a job, like he would excel at work, but he was an addict. And so that kind of thing as well, like, oh, if you're jobless and stuff, it's not kind of one thing for everyone is different, you know, and everyone experiences addiction differently. You know, it's not, yeah, we have things in common and we understand to a certain degree, like we can relate to everything, but at the same time, you know, one person's experience of it isn't necessarily the same as someone else's. So yeah, I do think that would be important to teach it, especially to family as well, who might not understand as well what it is.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. I just think that it's actually really sad that there isn't, you know, that additional education around it. And like you say, there's no one size fits all addict stroke alcoholic, or, you know, as I say, referring back to the person on the park bench with a brown paper bag, you know, that's the stereotype, unfortunately.
Yeah. So Kimberley, how long since you say you then went to work in the pub, how long since then, and then you moved away from then, did you carry on having issues around alcohol? Or
it was always present in my life after, you know, moving out with my sister and setting up my own life and getting a corporate job in London. Again, with the London scene, a lot of it is based around alcohol, and I was in events, so again, you're hosting these events and you're expected to drink at the drinks receptions and the meals and entertaining clients and all of that stuff. So again, it was quite dominant in my life. So, but again, because everybody was doing it, I didn't see that there was a problem.
yeah.
So as far as I was aware, I was just having a good time. I was fulfilling my role, my job role. The clients were having a great time. The events were going really well. But yeah, on the inside, secretly, I was like, yes, like it just means I can carry on drinking, and no one's going to notice. Like, it's absolutely fine. It's acceptable.
Yeah, even now when you go down, especially like on a Thursday, Friday night, you see all the people, don't you? Outside the pubs are absolutely heaving.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it is social as well, isn't it? It's like, oh well, you know, come have a drink after work and catch up and everything else. So it's not just
it
crazy, isn't
is.
it? Really
It
think about it. Like,
it really is. It really is. And I think, yeah, just the social pressure around alcohol, I think is crazy. There's so much pressure around it. You are just around it constantly.
mm,
Um and it's tough. It's you know, especially when you're working in like the corporate environments and things like that. It's expected of you.
did you feel pressure then from like your peers and your workmates to have a drink?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I wanted a drink anyway,
Mm,
but yeah, it was like you said, you know, Thursdays and Fridays, like people outside the pubs, people in the pubs, you know, I'll just pop in for one before you get the train home, and then it wouldn't stop at one, and then before you know it, you'd be getting the last train home. And that could have been any night of the week.
yeah,
So there's no limitation with alcohol.
yeah.
It's so readily available everywhere.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, sometimes people, even now, like I'm not an addict, but I don't drink and I haven't for a few years. And sometimes, like when I go out, you know, on a night out or something, and, you know, I say, oh, I don't drink. Do you want to drink? No, I don't drink. And they're like, oh, why? And I'm like, because I just don't drink. And it's like, why? Some people find the need, like it's alien to some people, like the fact that someone doesn't drink, you know, and shouldn't really have to explain why
Mm.
anything, you know.
No,
But it's
definitely not.
crazy. So you worked in corporate London, and how were you feeling like on the inside? Did it give you a sense as well of like confidence when you had a drink?
Definitely. You know, I thought I would turn into the life and soul of the party. And when really, again, reflection, I was probably just that really annoying, pissed up person that just keeps repeating themselves. But it's so true. But when you're
Yeah,
in the moment and you're having one more and you're getting more gobby and whatever, and everyone around you is getting more gobby, and I just didn't see that I had a problem. I was just you know, the gobby one that liked to drink, basically. And that's what people kind of knew me as, like having a laugh, being a bit gobby, liking a drink.
yeah. And how long did you carry on like that for with working there?
So I worked in London for a few years, and then I met my, well, now ex-husband, but met him, and we got together and we got married, and we wanted to start a family. And when we were looking at starting a family, I knew that I was drinking too much, and he'd commented a few times about it because we needed to do IVF. So I knew that I had to go on this big kind of overhaul with kind of myself, really. um and I think my no drinking lasted all of about 3 or 4 months. I went and
Yeah,
saw a hypnotherapist because I thought that that would really help me with everything, and you know, inside I really wanted to do it because I wanted children. But all it took was for me to go out with my sister and some girlfriends and to be offered a glass of some really cheap crap uh prosecco, and that's all it took, and then I was off and running again. Yeah, I mean, I obviously, when we did IVF and found out I was pregnant, I did stop then, but I was still having a glass of red wine. I had like 3 or 4, I think, throughout the whole pregnancy when I was pregnant with the twins. But I could do that. I could know that I could not have a drink because obviously there was a reason for it. There was,
yeah,
you know, I was growing these 2 babies. And, you know, I think even then trying to justify it to myself, you know, a glass, it's okay. Like a small glass of red wine, it is okay. So I probably had 3 or 4 throughout the pregnancy. And then as soon as they were born prematurely, and they were in NICU for a couple of weeks. So we went home without them. But as soon as they were born, and like I'd had a C-section and went home with my ex-husband, it was like brilliant. I can drink. Don't have the babies. Pouring that glass of red wine, large red wine, like it was like a free pass.
Yeah.
And as I say, the twins, they turned 9 in January, and I would say it was probably at that point that my drinking really, really started to ramp up properly.
Mm.
I was a stay-at-home mum. My ex-husband didn't want me to go back to work, and there's lots of play dates that involve wine. I think obviously they're more for the mums than the children, and being at home with the kids, I could pour a glass of wine at 4 o'clock,
Yeah.
and it was okay. Well, in my head I was justifying it was okay, but it's really
Yeah.
not okay. So I guess it does really upset me, but I would say from when the twins were born, it really started to ramp up.
Do you think like that has anything to do with like the trauma that you had? Like you said, they were premature and stayed in hospital. That must have been really scary for you as well.
It was really scary. Like, they were tiny, they were IVF, it was our second round. They were very much wanted, and I just saw it that I'd gone 36 weeks without a proper drinking
Yeah.
session. And that
So
was
now
kind of
you're
my
rewarding yourself.
reward. And that's then what I started to see alcohol as, is a reward. And also I guess to numb the feeling of loneliness, because it's lonely being a stay-at-home mum, especially to two little humans that that
Yeah.
are so dependent on you. So for me, that was just like a green light, really. And I,
Mm.
like, don't get me wrong, I didn't like get absolutely pissed and stuff when they were tiny, but it was the regularity of pouring a glass of wine, in preparation for the witching hour at like between 5 and 6. And when my ex-husband would come back from work, I would be on my second glass of wine, and he would be like, "Oh, well, you deserve it," And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, if he's saying that, then again, it's a green light for me to have wine. So it
Yeah.
was fine. And that was, I guess that was my crutch. That was kind of what I leaned on to help me through those early days.
Did you like isolate a lot? Did you ever like really talk much to other mums or?
No, I was good like that. I generally, we did some baby groups and stuff like that, a special twin baby group, and I met a mum there, and she loved a wine, so it was perfect. She had twins, and as I say, when we had play dates, it would always revolve around a bottle of prosecco, even at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's just insane to me now. But no, I was good, and I made sure that I got out of the house, especially in the mornings. In the afternoons, I didn't really want to get out of the house, because in my head, I'm thinking, oh, like if we have the mornings out and we have the afternoons at home, it's nice for the kids to be at home, and I can also,
Have a glass of
if
wine.
if I fancy a drink, then I can just pour one,
Yeah.
right? And no
Yeah.
one's gonna
That
know.
became like your routine, your daily
Yeah,
routine.
yeah, it really did, yeah. And that makes me sad to say that out loud, but it did. Crazy.
Well, yeah, it sounds though, Kimberly, you have been through a hell of a lot. So, it takes a lot to reach out for help, and well done. And it's really brave for you to be so open and honest about what you've been through. Did your drinking change from having a glass or two to bottles at any point? Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it changed. I would say quite quickly, with regards to like from a glass or 2 glasses to a bottle. And then from then, obviously, COVID, the twins were 4 in COVID. We'd moved house in 2018. So we'd had like 18 months in the house, and then COVID hit, and then that was like progressive. That was when it went from a bottle to 2 bottles, and some secret drinking snuck in, because my ex-husband was at home in the day, obviously, because the whole world was locked down. And that's when the day drinking kind of started, the secret day drinking. And it wouldn't, I say this like I'm trying to justify myself and make it normal, but it wasn't until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, well, like we've got no concept of what day it is, the time, as long as it's after midday, you know, it's 12 o'clock. Well, what they're saying is 5 o'clock somewhere, but it's 12 o'clock somewhere or whatever. You know, the sun was out, the kids were in the garden. It was easy to go to that next stage. It really was. It was harder to get rid of the empties. That's the reality of it. That was the harder part. It was easy to get it because online shopping, and I was doing all the shopping for the house and stuff like that. And my ex-husband, he didn't drink either. So I knew that what I ordered, he wouldn't touch. So it was safe. It was mine. You know, and if I'm unpacking the shopping and he doesn't see an extra bottle, and it had gone on from wine. I would always have wine of an evening and pretend it would be my first kind of drink at like 4. But that's when vodka came into the mix, because it was like brilliant. Stupidly and naively, I thought that no one could smell it. Well, now I know that you can. And so like from 2 o'clock, I would have a couple of vodkas and then I would go on to the wine. And it would be like that for a good couple of years. Definitely.
Lockdown definitely did a lot of damage for people, you know. People really struggled at that time, you know. Even now you speak to people and they said, you know, since lockdown I've been struggling. So, you know, it was a very dark time. Did your husband notice the drinking getting more?
He did, and I'll be honest, he noticed because embarrassingly he found some empty bottles that I'd hid in my daughter's wardrobe. And he was looking for something and he found them, and he was like, what the hell is this? You've got a problem. No, I haven't. You know, massive argument. And we'd started to kind of drift apart anyway, and that just exacerbated the situation, obviously. And I couldn't understand why he didn't like a drink, and obviously he couldn't understand why I had to drink. Like for him it's just completely alien for him, but for me I needed it. Almost, I wanted it obviously, but I also needed it as well at that point.
You became physically dependent?
I did. You know, if I started to get the shakes. First of all, they were subtle, but I had that physical dependence on it.
When you started to get physical symptoms and withdrawals, what was that like for you? Did alarm bells go off then? Did you kind of realise, or were you just ignore it and just, it's not happening, you know, I'm fine?
No alarm bells at all. Again, looking back now, that's like a massive red flag that I was just like, I'm shaking because I'm hungover or I need a drink. But no, it didn't set off alarm bells at all. I just kind of settled into a routine. It was just normal for the day to go the way that it was going, you know. It was only when the breakdown of our marriage like happened that again things then went up another level. Our marriage broke down in 2022, April time of 2022, and that was when my day drinking from like 1 or 2 o'clock, the world had just started getting back to normal, and
things opening up again.
And you know, we'd gone back to work and all of those things, and that was when my day drinking from 1 or 2 o'clock started to get earlier. So that's when it was kind of midday, and I would, in my head, I'd be like, well, I need it to get through the day because of what I'm going through. And it was all self-pity, self-loathing, and it was just a really, really horrible, vicious cycle. You know, he moved out, I was left in the family home. We split the children 50-50. So for 50% of the time I didn't have the kids. So I was all alone in our ex-family home. And that really hit hard, actually. And I was put on a front and pretend I was okay, but actually I really wasn't. And so, that's when my drinking again, as I say, went up another notch. So it wasn't abnormal for me to pour my first drink at midday, and even if I was at work, I would do that. Like,
Yeah.
and that's awful to say, but you know, I had Lucasade, bottle of vodka, I was sorted.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and I was thinking back earlier this week when I was doing my gratitudes, and even like meetings with external clients, I would have a vodka and Lucasade like in my glass. It would look just like a fizzy orange,
Yeah.
but there would be vodka in there. And now looking back, I think, bloody hell, they must have smelt like they must have cottoned on. And as the day progressed, obviously I'm secretly pouring a vodka into my Lucasade, and there was like loads of bottles of Lucasade, and they're thinking, wow, she drinks a lot of
Not a
Lucasade.
midday. Lucas. Yeah.
Like, yeah, crazy. But when you talk to people in AA, a lot of people say that it was vodka and a drink in like a bottle.
Yeah.
Children's parties, like I would do that. Like I would not go anywhere without my little friend, and that was vodka and a Lucasade in a bottle, in a Lucasade bottle, so no one would know what I was swigging. That was my friend when my ex-husband and I like first separated
Yeah.
and first started to
Yeah. False sense of comfort, isn't it?
massively,
Yeah. Yeah.
massively crazy.
How
Yeah.
long? How long did that carry on for?
So that was 2022, and then I found out that my ex-husband had moved on pretty quickly with another school mum, which was really hard to take, and she's got a little girl in the twins class. So again, that was another reason for me to go, oh fuck this, like, I'm just gonna drink, 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 drink. Like, it was awful. That was probably November 2022. And then it got to January 2023, and I decided to go on some dating apps and stuff like that, and met someone really special actually. And that was January 2023. We met up for the first time, and within a month of us kind of dating, well, we were dating, um he asked me if I was an alcoholic, just straight out. And for me, that was like the barriers went up. I was in full defense mode. Don't be so ridiculous. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But the reality was, deep down, deep, I knew I was.
Yeah.
Drinking in the day, drinking at work, always having that bottle with me, like driving around to get rid of empties. Like, I knew I was, but I was just full of just regret, embarrassment, guilt. Like, I didn't want to believe it.
Yeah.
Like,
Were you afraid, like, as well, like if you admitted it to yourself and to those around you, that then your little friend, your sense of comfort is going to be taken away from you?
massively, yeah. And the thing is, when we spent time together as a family, and family, I mean like my mum, my dad, my siblings and partners and the children and stuff, they all love a drink as well, my family. And I would say my mum's an alcoholic as well. And they all love a drink. And so family gatherings and get-togethers, it was always revolved around alcohol.
Yeah.
And I think they knew that I had a bit of an issue, because I would really change as a person when I drunk. And you know, sometimes you'd get a nice Kimberley, other times you'd get a complete arsehole Kimberley, other times you'd get the blackout Kimberley. Like, you just never knew which one you were going to get. It was so Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
You know, starting arguments for no reason, all booze based.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, going back to what you were saying. Yeah, I was afraid. I was afraid to admit that I was an alcoholic,
Mm.
afraid to actually truly believe it, because as soon as I would admit it, I would have to believe it.
Yeah.
Um
Then it becomes
and
real, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, and then
yeah.
it's reality, exactly that. And like, I didn't want to lose this guy that I'd just met, because we got on so well. But you know, I was drinking on the way to seeing him, vodka, thinking he couldn't smell it. I'd be driving half cut. Like, it's just pure insanity.
Yeah.
Um And he tried to reach out to a couple of my friends, and they didn't want to know. They didn't believe it because I was obviously functioning and just trying to hide it. And so that put a spanner in the works, you know, from early on in our relationship. Looking back to the person that I was horrible. I was really horrible. Yeah, just almost like a nut job, really. Like, just everything would be someone else's fault. It would never be my fault. I would always sit on the pity pot. You know, make
angry as well,
like really angry. Yeah, I was talking to my mentor yesterday when we did our gratitudes, and we were saying about the anger, and it would just blow any kind of situation, would just blow up into this huge, horrible situation. And I was the cause of it. But again, I didn't believe I was the cause of it at the time because I couldn't see with clarity. I was just so full, fueled by alcohol.
yeah
Yeah, it was bad, but he stuck by me. And you know, I would make up stories to make him look bad to, like, my family and some of my friends, and I was awful. I
yeah
was, hands on heart, I wasn't a very nice human being at all.
The only kind of way that I can describe people that are in like the full midst of addiction like you were is possession. It's the only kind of thing I can relate it to.
Yeah, like
It's
The Exorcist.
like something just takes over
Yeah,
their mind, their soul, and it's just like a whole, like you say, Jekyll and Hyde, a completely different person to the person who's sober.
yeah.
And well, you know.
And it's so true. But because I was never sober, I was never that person. And that's the stark reality of drinking around the clock.
Yeah. Did you lose like any sense of who you were? Like, did you feel really lost at the time? Like,
Yeah, no confidence, just so much self-hatred, because as I say, the more it progressed, the more I knew I had a problem, and the more I knew I had to try and do something about it. But the more I knew I had to do something about it, the more it made me drink,
yeah,
because I just didn't know how I was going to live my life without alcohol, who I was without alcohol, because I thought I knew who I was with alcohol. And I thought I was, you know, this, you know, initially a good person, but towards the end, I really, really wasn't. And it was just the thought of not having that friend there was just so scary.
yeah,
I just felt worthless. I had so much self-hate. I put on lots of weight, you know, I ballooned, and my face, I was just, yeah, I was a
so
mess.
unwell.
Yeah. And then it was just tiring. The pretense of trying to hide that second life when you're still walking around swigging it, but trying to pretend to people that you're not, and just always thinking about alcohol and the next drink, and planning what shop I was going to go to, because I didn't want people to think that I was an alcoholic. So I used to have like a cycle of 3 or 4 shops where I would go and buy vodka and spit it out, and red wine. Like, they must see that a lot more than, you know, we imagine. And you think you're fooling everybody, but actually you're fooling, the only person you're fooling is yourself. You're not fooling anyone.
100%. But yeah, it's like a cycle, isn't it? You know, it's just going round and round, and it just must be so draining as well, because you just, when you're in the midst of like in such a dark place, you just can't relax. Like, you're just constantly chasing your tail, you know, going round and round in a cycle. Like, you, even when you sleep, your mind's not shut off. You're not really sleeping, you know. It's just draining.
I wasn't really sleeping because I was just basically getting to a point where I would black out. Class that as rest or sleep for a few hours, and then you wake up at like 2 or 3 and you think, fuck, like, how did I get here? Like, why aren't I in bed? You just like on the sofa, and you know, you wake up and the kids come down and see you on the sofa when I had them, and just all of these insane situations and occurrences because of alcohol. Yeah, and that went on from, as I say, 23 through to through to 24 last year, it got even worse. And I would say probably August 23, September 23, that is when I probably started drinking around the clock, because my shakes started to get bad. And I knew that if I had a drink, I would stop shaking. And it was just my hands at that time. So I knew that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
And so the self-hatred and the self-loathing and then everything else, that's, gone tenfold, because I'm now drinking as soon as I wake up, and you think to yourself, oh, most normal people would be having a coffee now, but I'd be drinking some leftover red wine from the night before, or pouring a small vodka because that was acceptable because it was a small one.
Did that scare you at the time?
It did, but I didn't know how else to stop the physical dependence, and I still didn't want to admit at that point that I had a problem. I really, really didn't. And then it got to January last year. Deep down I knew I needed to do something, but I just carried on because I didn't know how to get help. I didn't know what to say, didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to live, but I didn't know how to live with alcohol, but I didn't know how to live without it either. It was just
felt stuck,
massively stuck. And I must have just been like a stranger to my children. 1 minute I'd be like really happy, mummy, because I'd be pissed, and then I wouldn't have any patience, or I'd be angry. So they'd get a bit of a shouty mummy, and then they would find passed out mummy on the sofa. So for them, I mean, bless their hearts, like, they're amazing little people. So for them, they must have been so confused as well, because obviously mummy and daddy have split up. Daddy's with somebody new, mummy's so many different people. We never know who we're going to get. Like, it must have been so unsettling for them, and I'm January 2024, I'm still trying to convince the partner that stood by me after I've caused so many problems. I'm still trying to convince him that I'm not an alcoholic, and he's like, well, you are. And so again, I'm in denial with that, and I know that I'm lying to him. And he was like, well, why don't you buy a breathalyzer, then you can prove to me that you're not drinking when we don't see each other. I couldn't do that, because obviously I knew that I had been drinking. I used to make up so many bullshit excuses as to why I couldn't do it, and thinking that I had fooled him or whatever, just in that headspace where I basically just didn't give a fuck. All I wanted to do was just drink.
Yeah. What then took you from being in such a dark place, Kimberley, to then, getting yourself into treatment? Was that a decision that you came to yourself?
So my partner had mentioned it. He was like, you need proper help. That's the only way. Again, in denial. No, I don't. I can do it by myself. I think I did 2 weeks sober, and then class it as a relapse. And then everybody knows that once an alcoholic has a relapse, it then goes up a gear again. And that was end of February last year.
Yeah.
So a year ago, pretty much, I did 2 weeks, and I don't know how I done it, because my physical it wasn't safe for me to do, but I done it. Fortunately, I didn't have any seizures or anything, but done it. But I don't know what happened. Something happened, and obviously I just thought, fuck this, I'm just gonna drink again. And in my head, I'm like, well, I've done 2 weeks. Like, it'll just be a couple of days. Obviously, that never happened. And there was just a progression of events. After that, my divorce was finalised and came through. I'd caused some massive issues with my partner and my family, so that wasn't good either. Valentine's Day last year, I got arrested. We were having a romantic dinner, and I'd been drinking all day, preparing, thinking I was going to do a romantic dinner. And my partner got home from work, and I was already half cut and so argumentative. And I'm grateful that he did in the end. He called the police because he was like, you're like an absolute psycho. And again, I thought I wasn't, but I was put in a cell for a night, let go without charge the next day. But I think that was one of the turning points for me. It was like, fuck, like, who am I? Did 2 weeks sober, thought, well, I've got this, and then just drunk again.
Yeah. Were you engaging with any support at all?
No.
No.
I think I'd been to the doctors and said, like, I'm not happy, but I didn't disclose how much I was drinking. I used to lie as to how much I was drinking. So no, it didn't engage in any support. And my partner and I were having issues because of everything that happened with my family.
Yeah.
And they believed he wasn't right for me. And it was just a big mess. And so I started to not go into work, and went to the doctors and got signed off sick. And this was like 2 weeks before rehab. I was just at that point where I just couldn't physically cope with going into work, trying to keep up with the drinking, trying to keep up with all these pretenses. It was bad. And in the end, my partner was like, you need to get some proper help. And I was like, no, I don't. And one night I didn't have the kids, and that's when I tried to take my own life. And I drank a lot and took about 80 tablets that I take for a pre-existing condition, and woke up. I don't know how I woke up, just like in sick and just a mess. And it was at that point that I was like, I actually do need help. And my partner told my best friend, who was kind of there for me. Well, she was there for me. She wasn't kind of there for me. And he told her, and she was like, you need to go and see the doctor. So I went to see the doctor, and they referred me to, and I completely come out. It was the first time that I'd said, I think I've got a drinking problem. And they referred me to a place called Change, Grow, Learn,
Yeah.
CGL.
Yeah.
And so when I was driving to go to CGL, to the initial appointment, my car like completely died, and I had to be like pushed to the side of the road. And I was just like I just tried to kill myself the night before, and I was just like, fuck this. I just can't cope. So, and it was near Tesco's, luckily, so I could go in and get a bottle of vodka, and I was fine. I didn't care about the car. I went to the appointment, and they told me that they needed to do like a triage. So it would be like a couple of days, and then they triage you, and then there was this whole kind of process.
Yeah.
Deep down, I knew I couldn't wait that long, because I knew that I probably wouldn't have survived
Yeah.
a few more days. My DTs were awful. It was like my whole body was convulsing if I went more than a couple of hours without alcohol. I was literally just topped up, like 24/7. And so my good friend, said, why don't you look into going private? And I was getting some money through from the house sale that had finally happened. So I knew I had some money coming, because it was imminent that the completion was going to happen. And she worked with somebody, and her sister had gone to Liberty House, and she said that her sister was still sober after a year, I think it was, and she would highly recommend it. So that's how I came across Liberty House. So I phoned them that day, had an assessment with them, set the date that I went in for like the following week. So I could just have some time with the kids and get sorted with the kids and try and get us sorted with the house move. And and went into Liberty House on the 18th of April 2024.
And you run that yourself then, Kimberley?
Yeah, I did all of that myself. Yeah. I just knew that I had to, otherwise my children wouldn't have a mum. And I finally said the words like it was on that call that I said I'm an alcoholic. And saying those words for the first time was like, fuck. But it was almost, I felt free. And that might sound really like contradictory, but I felt free. And
Yeah.
people actually knew that that wasn't me. The person that they were seeing, that wasn't me. And knowing that I was actually getting proper help and being able to not be around booze and having a medical detox and doing it all properly, yeah, I just felt free for the first time in multiple years.
Carrying that around with you for so long.
Yeah, definitely. And I had a bit of a plan, and It was crazy. The plan was initially for me to go in for 2 weeks. And when they assessed me when I was going in, they said, we don't think this is long enough based on the units that I was drinking.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many units it was, but it was shocking. It was basically nearly a litre of vodka and a bottle and a half of red wine a day. That was probably my intake on average. And they said, we don't think 2 weeks is long enough. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Literally got in there, and after day 3 knew that I had to stay longer than 2 weeks. So I extended my day by a week. And then I extended again by another 4 days. So I did 24 days in Liberty House, and it saved me, and it saved the children from not having a mummy. Like, they've got their mummy. They've got their mummy, and it's really special.
Oh, bless you, Kimberley. Bless you.
Really, really special. Place is amazing. The therapists, I was so scared going in because not everyone says I need to go to rehab, and you don't know what to expect, and you don't know
what the people are like. How it runs.
Yeah, all of that. But my dad left. My dad dropped me off and left, and I had too many vodkas in my pocket, and I didn't even drink them. I put them in the skip because I was like, this is my one and only chance, and I need to do it. And my dad left, and I walked in there and instantly felt at home. And just being able to talk about like how dark things were, and just being able to talk to people that were there for the same reasons, people that understood, and there were people on day 5, there were people on day 28, there was people that were going to be in there for 3 months, and I just instantly felt at home.
Yeah, that must have been so liberating for you, just to get all that weight that you've been holding in just out there, and just also do it in a place where you're accepted, you're not judged, they're just gonna sit and listen to what you say as well, you'll be heard.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And everyone's stories, although for different reasons we're in there, but we're all addicts or alcoholics at the end of the day. So everyone's stories, and we could laugh about the stories that we were telling each other. I've never, that first night, the people that were in there like occupying as well, I made some amazing friends. And that first night I sober laughed for the first time, and it was the most amazing feeling, and we laughed all night. Like, it was just incredible.
Yeah, really powerful.
Yeah, it really was a powerful moment. And just looking back now, I had some really good laughs in there, just because you could take the piss out of each other and know that you weren't going to get offended, because we all finally admitted that we were there for what we needed help for. It was
cover all your crazy stories as well.
But nothing was ever too crazy, though. That's the thing. And even talking to the therapist, like, nothing was ever too crazy. It's just like, well, we get it. And just to be able to laugh about it as well was amazing. But no, it's a lovely place. I felt safe and free for the first time since I was probably 15, 16.
Did you feel as well like that connection, because you've been in such a lonely place for so long? What was it like just to be around that group of people? You must have just felt finally connected.
Definitely, the connection, and it's what was nice about it. I was so open with my feelings, and like, I always wore my heart on my sleeve, but people get to see such a vulnerable side of you, because you're in therapy sessions together. But then you also have that other side of you where you can laugh, you can take the piss out of each other, like, you have your chill out time, and like you watch films together, and we would always make a thing about having a movie night, and just like the nice things. And
yeah, definitely. And the brownies, I've had the brownies at Liberty House as well.
amazing.
Oh, they were banging.
Yeah.
The brownies she made.
And just like doing jobs around the house together, and just really feeling part of something.
Yeah.
It completely changed my life. And as I say, I'm so grateful for Liberty House and the therapists and the staff there, because I wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast if I hadn't have gone in that day.
No, Liberty House is great. Really is. Really great group of people working there.
So yeah, I feel very, very grateful and very lucky. And the meetings that they have, like the CA and the AA meetings that they have, that was really good to understand the format of how those meetings work, so that when you do come out, they're not scary, and you're working the 12 steps when you're in there. So to work and learn more about that program as well, that was amazing. You're writing your life story and hearing your family questionnaires, and just so many different elements of it.
And having that structure as well, and that routine, because you've just been in, just like you say, not sleeping, like waking up in God knows what time in the morning. To have that structure and that routine as well.
Yeah, and to know you're detoxing safely as well. You've spoken to the doctor, and because I didn't know I was going to do a medical detox, but when I spoke to the doctor, that he was amazing, and he was like, I think, like, well, you definitely need to. And so I'm glad that I detoxed in such a safe way, in a safe place, surrounded by people that really understood me. Yeah, they understood me for being an alcoholic, but then they could understand me for being sober, so they got to see both sides. And you can't tell your story to many people, because lots of people don't understand addiction. So yeah, it was very empowering, very, very empowering.
Were you scared to come out? Were you nervous?
I think, yeah, there's no beating around the bush. I was, because it's going back to having that drug that you're addicted to readily available, and alcohol's available in post office, and wherever you go, it's available. But I knew that I had to do it. I knew that this was my only chance, and I had to do it for myself and my children. And it was my one and only chance, regardless. And I knew that I had to use all the tools that I'd learned in rehab and use them on the outside, and get to an AA meeting straight away. I come out on the Saturday, and I went to my first meeting on the Monday, and that definitely helped. Knowing that I was going from the support of rehab to the support of AA, and really again fitting in with another group of people that understood me. And again, there were around so many years of sobriety at that group, that it makes you believe that there is a life like without it. And being enclosed in that bubble, it's amazing, but at some point that you're going to have to come out of that bubble and put everything that you've learned to the test. And I did, and I'm still doing that. I didn't ask for help before, but I'm not ashamed to reach out and ask for help now. And even if it's the smallest of things, I'll message somebody from AA, or I'll speak to my mentor, or I'll speak to my partner, who amazingly is still stood beside me through all of it. I went into rehab, and we didn't speak. He basically said that he didn't want to speak to me while I was in there, and I didn't know what our future held for when I come out. But we didn't speak for a few weeks after I come out, and we started speaking again. And I knew I had to prove to him that he could trust me. And yeah, we're amazing now. Like, he's seen a completely different person to the person that he met back in January 2023. So I'm grateful for him, because if he hadn't have called me out, who knows what would have happened. It's been a ride.
Right, yeah.
That's for sure. But I love what Liberty House has given me, and that's recovery and my life back. And as I said, the children, their mummy, a mummy that they never knew, like, and they, they say to me all the time, like, you are a much happier person, you're
Oh,
a happier mummy, and our relationship is just amazing. Don't get me wrong, I still have moments where I still have that resentment for myself of not being who I am today and them not seeing that. But you can't live in the past, you can only live in the present and the future. So
yeah.
that's what I'm doing.
And as well, just learn to forgive yourself as well. It's a really hard thing to do, but it's important because no one's perfect. And, when you're so unwell in that place, it's just things happen when you're in such a unwell place, and I think just learning to forgive yourself is a really powerful thing as well, because it wasn't, really you, Kimberley, at the end of the
No,
day. It was the illness, the addiction just had its grips on you.
it really did. It really did. And until I went into Liberty House, I didn't ever know that alcoholism was an illness and addiction is an illness. Like, I just thought it was me not being able to say no to a drink. So again, that was freeing as well, to learn
Yeah,
that and to like fully understand that as well. That concept, like, it's an illness, it's a disease. It's not just somebody that can't say no to a drink.
yeah,
And just being able to fully understand addiction and alcoholism as well. And I still continue to learn every day, and I do my podcasts and I listen to audible books and I do meditation and gratitudes and prayers and just everything that goes alongside it. Like, you do, recovery is hard, like every day is
yeah,
hard,
yeah.
but if you put in the work, then it's not as hard as it needs to be.
And what I think as well is like nothing worthwhile comes easily,
No, it's so true.
whatever's a quick fix, forget about.
Definitely. And you learn more and more about yourself, like, every day. And as I said, was saying earlier about reflection, like, you're able to reflect more and more and look at actually who you were and admit that you weren't a nice person, and not because it was intentional, but because you've got an illness.
Yeah. And still process things,
Yeah,
like constantly processing, oh, that's why that, it kind of, now you're out on the other side, you can actually see clearly what was really going on.
massively. Just the clear-headedness, waking up every day, just knowing, remembering that you went to bed, remembering that you didn't piss anyone off, remembering you didn't start an argument. Just, when you wake up in the night, not reaching for a red wine or a vodka, you're reaching for some water. Life is just so, so different, and it's amazing. It really is amazing.
What would, if you could say one thing to someone at the moment that is unsure of getting help, what would you say to them?
I would say, as hard as it feels at the moment, just reach out, make that first step, because it will save your life. And admittance as well, although it seems really scary, and it is scary, um just that admittance, because that admittance will eventually set you free. Yeah, and once you've said it out loud for the first time, you will feel so much freer. And it really is nothing to be ashamed of. Like, there's so much support and love that people can give you and that you have around you. Yeah, taking the first step's the hardest, but once you've made that first step, it's definitely worth it.
What would you say? I'm going to put you on the spot now, Kim. If you could say something to your past self now where you are in life, what would you say to yourself?
Oh, that's a tough one. What would I say to my past self? I probably would have been kinder to myself, a lot kinder to myself, and would have told my young self, my inner child, like, I was my worst critic, and that doesn't help. I think always be kind to yourself and be kind to others, because you never know what somebody's going through. It's so easy to pretend. Don't pretend. I would say that to my younger self as well. Just don't pretend that everything's okay when it really isn't.
Yeah.
Because
It's okay to say you're struggling.
yeah, it really is. And you shouldn't be ashamed of that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kimberley, for being so... I feel speechless after talking to you, because honestly, like what you just spoke about, being so open, so honest, so powerful what you've said. So we just want to say, you know, a huge thank you for joining us today and sharing with us your journey, and a huge well done to you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm coming up to 11 months sober next week, so, and I'm just so excited, like, yeah, for the future. The past 11 months have been incredible. So yeah, just, if you're early stages, keep going, go to AA meetings, keep working the program, working the steps, do what works for you as well, because recovery is so personal, just like everybody's drinking journey.
100%. Yeah, exactly. There's no right or wrong, is there? And everyone's different. So just figure out what works for you. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. You've been listening to Screaming on the Inside, a UKAT podcast. Thanks again for joining us, and a huge thank you to Kimberley for sharing her incredible story and having the courage and strength to be so open and honest with us today. As always, you can find further support links and information below and on the UKAT website. Go to www.ukat.co.uk. Take care.